Hello, YouTube. All right, as you can see, I'm still stuck at the lake. Luckily, the rain had stopped. It was. So, what was the lesson learned here? Well, I probably should have taken the help. I actually had two or three different other people come through and offer help to try to tow, not tow, but pull me out with a chain or something. And I passed them up because AAA said they were going to show up like an hour ago. So they didn't show up on the scheduled time. Park Ranger did come by, and he's going to probably come by again in a few more minutes. If he does, I'll let him pull me out or help pull me out. Even though I called AAA again, they called the tow company. Tow company says they're on their way now. So they should be here very soon, which means I will end this broadcast. But I was noticing, on my news feed, the situation and the numbers are daunting. I guess President Trump passed some kind of moratorium, whatever it is. He passed a special stopgap measure to stop evictions, to try to prevent evictions right now. But they were saying that, like, right now in this country, there's like between 20 to 40 million people that are facing eviction. 20 to 40 million. Let that sink in. That is a huge number of people about to become homeless. And what the stopgap measure supposedly does is it freezes um, the landlords and the mortgage companies and stuff from kicking people out of their homes or apartments and stuff. But it doesn't fix the problem. And it's supposed to last till like December, the end of December, you know. But it doesn't fix the problem. The problem is people aren't working. They're not able to get the money, and even if they are, they're not having enough money. And with COVID going on, expenditures are more than normal. So I really feel for those people, but of course I'm already one of those people. I'm one of the early ones that this crap affected even before that, before COVID and everything else. But my concern is they don't really seem to have a plan. And the landlords, yeah. Joe says trying to find a job right now sucks. And the thing is, they stopped, unemployment. Florida unemployment is a joke. They weren't even giving it, and they didn't even give out the government, the CARES Act, where they were giving like $600 a week. They were saying, well, that's an incentive for people not to go to work, but they weren't even giving it out. Florida unemployment, first off, they didn't even begin the process till more than a month after it was passed. And then you couldn't get on. The system was locked up. And then the system kept breaking down, and it made you stand in this queue. I won't even get into it, but long story short, a lot of people in Florida did not get unemployment, even though they said that the government keeps saying, well, they're doing all this stuff to help people. If things are going so well, okay, then how come we have about 20 to 40 million people about to become homeless? Things aren't going well. And the other problem is they're even contradicting themselves. The reason they're passing the moratorium or whatever it's called is to control coronavirus. Because if you throw all these people in on the street, okay, these people will have to either move in with family or wherever they can move in and pack even more people, or they're going to be living on the streets in vans and trucks, and then the police will continue to harass them like they've been harassing the RV. You're not even allowed to live in an RV. That's how ridiculous this whole... You're in the middle of a pandemic, an emergency situation, and people who are in RVs, you're arresting them or confiscating their RVs, their homes. So, I can't even comprehend the reasoning of the government or the powers that be and how they're running this whole situation. People who were in RVs actually were in a good position. The government should have been setting aside like service areas, like fields and stuff with water and bathrooms and things like that, so those people don't immediately become homeless. But they were confiscating, forcing people out of RVs and moving them, telling them they can't park somewhere, but they had nowhere to go. Meanwhile, the RV parks, you've seen the sales in RVs are going crazy right now because people are thinking they can get RVs so they don't become homeless. The problem they're going to find is that the RV parks aren't letting a lot of the RVs in. They're already overbooked. They're packed. I'm going to be forced out in a few months because people have already pre-booked the snowbirds. I'm in Florida, so just like last year, I can only stay till like December. Then I'm screwed. I've got an issue. So I don't even know what's going to happen at that point. I'm not even looking that far ahead. Um, but just seeing that moratorium, I'm like, it's hitting right now, and they're going to try to delay it till after the election. So regardless of what happens, whoever becomes president or remains president is going to have to deal with this. But I'm like, if it's the current administration, I don't think they're going to deal with it. They're just going to let these people. This is crazy. This is the United States of America, folks. This was the country this is supposed to be one of the first world countries, you know? But I've been communicating with a lot of friends in Thailand and stuff, and that's considered a third world country. Okay, Thailand is a third world country that's a developing nation, but they've got coronavirus under control. There is no more outbreaks there. Government is, controlling everything. And they're trying to open it back up for tourism and stuff because they got to make money. But yeah, the United States is now the laughing stock. But not only, you say the laughing stock, but I don't think so much the laughing stock. People are looking and crying. The reason they're crying is the United States used to be the hope, the light. Most of the world was dark and full of evils. We say the communists are evil. We say fascism is evil and all this other stuff. Socialism is evil. Well, the United States is now not even able to take care of its own citizens. And not just the poor, mind you. The poor have always been kind of neglected. And, people have always been like, well, as long as it's not me, So the poor, I hope you can hear me over the fan here, but it's getting kind of hot in here. So I turned the fan on. But the poor have been kind of neglected in this country in a lot of ways, and having lived in the van and being homeless and stuff, I got to experience it firsthand and see how it goes. But it's about to hit mainstream, and of course you got like natural disasters like fires and floods and stuff, so those people need help. But then you're going to let politics get into it and say, well, because the fires are in California and those people there are anti-Trump, you're not going to send money to help them. Tell me how this is American. Okay, tell me how this is how a leader behaves. But I don't want to get too much into politics because it's just going to make a lot of people here angry, because I know the Trump supporters will continue to support Trump no matter what, even though they're about to become homeless, some of them. So I don't know what to say other than I'm just sad. And I know my friends overseas, they're looking at it and they're not laughing. I know a lot of Americans think that the foreigners are laughing at us. They're not. They're crying. When your country was equated to like Superman, this force that has like superpowers, and other countries cannot defend themselves, they cannot even defend the rights, human rights, basic human rights. America actually intercedes and will step in, and some of it is political, but some of it is just the American way. The American way is that there's right and there's wrong, not whether it's American or not, but it's a basic human rights. That's what the whole precept of the American constitutions and all the laws and stuff are based on, is the rights of humans. Okay, you have the rights of humans and you have the rights specifically of Americans. And a lot of the rights here have been taken away. I mean, it's like in this country, which considers itself one of the freest nations in the world, you can't even buy your own land and park an RV on it and live in it. Tell me how that's free. They have all sorts of rules and regulations and everything that seem to be counter freedom. And yet the country keeps claiming that it's free. And I'm looking at other countries, and I know a lot of other countries are worse off, like, but they have a bit more freedom in those countries. But we're the country that's supposed to be the one that has the most freedom. But I'm looking at it, I'm like, I see some of the least freedom. It's like an illusion here. It's like they say you have freedom, and because they say you have freedom, even though anyone who tries, and people don't realize it until they try to initiate it. Like, people thought that they had the freedom to get an RV and drive around and camp. Well, you can't do that. You have to have permits, you have to pay for parking, You have to book it now, maybe a year in advance. Okay. In the 60s and 70s, the hippies and stuff were, I mean, that's when, like, I think vanning and stuff and van camping and stuff really took off, was the age of the hippies. It's because they could travel in a car or a van and just pull over alongside a road somewhere or a rest stop and just sleep. You know, if you try to do that now, you're probably going to get a knock. You're gonna get a knock on your door, and they'll tell you have to leave. And you're like, well, where can I go? They don't really care. They just want you in the next town. But then the next town, you're gonna get a knock. And then some towns could end up confiscating, your vehicle or whatever. And it tends to be worse if they see that you don't have money, because that means you probably can't really fight them, because everything's based upon a so-called legal system that is supposed to be just. But anyone who's ever had to deal with the American legal system knows it's anything but justice. It's who has the money. Where's the money? And the problem with it is this. It didn't affect most people because America used to have a decent-sized middle class. And, that middle class was like a buffer. But nowadays, I'm looking at the situation, and I'm like, you're either rich or you're poor. Even this is what they consider poor here in America, which to me is ridiculous. The moratorium or whatever that President Trump just signed says you have to make less than like $99,000 a year. $99,000. That's considered poor. $99,000 a year. I don't know about you guys, but in Florida, at least where I kind of grew up and lived and worked most of my life, even though I've worked also around the rest of the country, $99,000 would be, you're on the higher end. You're actually getting paid pretty decently. Most of the jobs around Florida are still minimum wage. Yeah. They're paying like, they're more than minimum wage. Minimum wage is only a ridiculous $7.25 an hour. Florida minimum wage, though, is $8.25 an hour, which might sound good until you realize that nowadays that will barely buy you a burger. It's like ridiculous. That's why I did that whole thing on the Walmart $4.50 rotisserie chicken. For less than the price of a hamburger, you could have food for a whole week. And that's already pre-cooked. But of course, that means you got to have refrigeration or something. So van dwellers are kind of a little bit screwed in that regards. But that chicken could still last you 2 or 3 meals if you do it right and put it in a cooler with ice. But what's happening though, and I think the people who are already here, the van dwellers and stuff, may be at a better advantage because you've had time and experience to see but they're continually changing it, making it worse. Like, it used to be standard that if you're a van dweller, you knew that you could shower at Planet Fitness and other gyms. They removed that with COVID, okay? And I don't think it's ever going to come back. Some people think this COVID-19 thing is going to be a thing that will go away. Viruses have always existed. It just didn't get out of hand like this until this administration and this year, okay? Other countries, China, Thailand, and others, they had it under control in 2 or 3 months at the most. Most places didn't have it under control as soon as the outbreak because nobody was taking it seriously. But by the end of February, the world knew it was serious. It had escaped China or wherever it originated from and was rapidly, this was like unlike any other virus, unlike swine flu, unlike everything else, it was highly, highly, highly contagious. And steps were taken, at that point by several countries, and they have it under control. The ones that haven't, specifically the United States and Central and South America. Central and South America are screwed. The numbers here and down in South America continue to rise. And I'm like, wow, these populations could end up getting wiped out. And then what's crazy about it is I'm hearing in the United States, Trump fired the leading CDC person and put in a new person who now says they're going to let herd immunity take over. So they're trying to get as many people in America infected as possible. Okay, I just had a relative die. This, they were fine, and then 2 weeks ago they contracted it and they're dead now. This virus moves extremely fast. Hey, I can see the tow truck just came by, so I'm gonna have to sign out. So we'll have to do a discussion like this again later, some other time. But those of you who are out there about to lose your home, I know they bought you some time. Get that time to get your vehicle ready. Start watching all the van channels, how to survive, because you're gonna need it. Take care, everyone. I'll catch you guys later. I got to deal with the tow truck.